Arin Sarkissian. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, so I'm Arin Sarkissian, as you said. I'm the founder of Well. It's an iPhone app and a web app. It's available on the App Store. And more or less, our app is an awesome social to-do list application where we do not focus on people's productivity. We focus on having people share all the cool things they want to do, like the movies they want to see, the wines they want to try, the places they want to ski. Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We got a team of 5 people in the Silicon Valley just working really hard trying to build a cool app. That's the basic gist here.
That's awesome. Well, I checked out the app and I go over it and I was thinking, there are so many startups out there. Everybody tries to grow huge active user base. So what is your approach to that? Like, how are you going to try to just get out there and find users and make this thing big?
Yeah, it's just the biggest thing now is just like we were talking about this earlier off camera, where it's just the way people discover apps has kind of taken, or just apps, applications, websites, etc. It's like word of mouth is online now. There was a time and a place years ago, like in the beginnings of Friendster, etc., where kind of email, kind of spam invitations was a really big, like a big goal for people. I remember Tribe or something. You'd sign up and, you'd more or less they'd have this thing scrape your inbox and be like, hey, here's 250 people that we'd like you to spam or whatever. And that doesn't work. The world's changed, right? The audience has changed. And if you think about mobile applications, there's a lot of people, just because of our age and where we are, and we're talking about startups, etc., we just think about people on iPhones and Androids, etc. But there's a huge population of people using iPod Touches. They're younger people. They're 15 years old, high school kids or whatever, and mom and dad didn't get them an iPhone or, whatever. So more or less, word of mouth has translated into, essentially having something valuable and reasonable for you to post onto the social networks everybody's using to begin with, right? So it's like auto spamming stuff on Twitter, a setting we talked about earlier. That's not going to work, and all that kind of stuff. So our goal right now is to give our users a value for essentially showing off or sharing their lists and or to-dos on those social networks. So we have a very little bit of that kind of stuff going on right now, and our current sprint or product iteration that we're working on is introducing features that are going to make kind of a bigger deal out of when you complete a to-do. So when you see a movie, we're going to allow you to we're going to give you, I don't want to give too much away, but we're going to give you like a nice, valuable, cool experience that you're actually going to want to send out to the rest of the world. So if you kind of think about like the people that have done well, etc., lately, Instagram didn't spam people, right? It's just they built a good app, and the utility there was, if you look at it, it's like, hey, here's a picture I took with a cool app that's pretty cool, good at taking pictures, etc., and I want this to be on Facebook too, etc. So models like that are the right ones to follow in like this day and age, as opposed to kind of the spam the world or SEO tricks that used to work. So yeah, so we're going to try to essentially provide value in people sharing stuff that they've accomplished on our app.
You're looking to have a larger social integration besides Twitter, Facebook? You maybe have ideas to go with different social networks? Maybe you have ideas?
Yeah, we've done that. There's actually the code in there to use. The code was written before Google+, but to log in with your Google account. So at that point, we'd have access to Gmail and a couple other things. The bigger problem there isn't so much the integration with the social networks, because a lot of them are either going to do OAuth 1 or some variant, or OAuth 2, and the same library is going to work for all of them. You just change, what API endpoints you're hitting and how you auth and whatever. So they're all actually very similar for a lot of them. Like LinkedIn is very similar to how Twitter works, etc. But the problem there is almost a usability experience. Do you really want to, when the app, because we launched, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, something like that, have the initial user experience be like, here's an icon for every other social network ever invented. Click on all of them and go through the OAuth flow. So the time will come when we can do that. We have the facility to do a lot of that. It's just right now it's like a pick and choose, and picking and choosing the 2 big boys right now just seem to make the most sense. Yeah, and like after like on the web, you see when you create a to-do or create a list, you can check whether or not to send this to Twitter and Facebook. Lining up 12 different icons right now is not the right answer, you know. So in time, yeah, but we'll see.
So we went like to this like special area, the Bay Area, when it comes to startups and stuff. What do you think makes this area so innovative over decades?
I don't know if it's like obviously there's nothing about the area, right? Like a lot of times when I think about some of these things, I kind of try to think about, you know, kind of similar things in other worlds. So you think about music, right? Like, and I like punk music or whatever, and you look about the early times of like the late 70s or whatever, and in New York and punk rock, and it was like CBGBs. And then at some point in the 90s, there was like in Berkeley, it was a big scene or whatever. And I just think that kind of stuff ends up happening at a certain place because 3 people do something really good, right? And then the guy that's in Iowa, think about LA in the 80s for like the hair metal rock band stuff, right? Or whatever. Like the guys from Guns N' Roses, like, you know, Axl moved to LA because, you know, Van Halen made it, a couple other bands made it. Like, oh, shit's going on over there. Let's go check it out. So I think that's kind of happened in the Bay Area for like decades now, right? And started with some of like the really big boys, right? Like Intel and, you know, Sun and other stuff, you know, HP, Compaq, whatever. And I think it just, you know, the reputation built up and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's just like you get a couple companies that do good and you're like, well, that happens. But what comes along with that is the kind of the infrastructure for that. So when I started the company, it was just like, well, we need lawyers, right? Because all this legal crap to deal with or whatever. So one of my angel investors introduced me to a partner at a law firm. And he's like, yeah, cool, we'll do all your shit until you get, you know, at least $1 million in funding. Then we'll start charging you, right? So I couldn't imagine that happening somewhere else, right? Where it's just like, hey, these lawyers, they... Yeah. Yeah. It's so... Anyways, so yeah. So it's just like the infrastructure is here for that. Like these guys charge like $500, $600, $700 an hour or whatever. And they're like, oh yeah, kid, like it's all good. Like we're not going to charge you shit until, you know, a year and a half later. And if you raised money, cool, we'll send you a giant bill. Otherwise, well, we fucking wasted our time, right? So the infrastructure is there. And then the other important things is like, back to the first point is other people are there. So if you think about the music thing, like Seattle was cool because you'd see a show where like Soundgarden and Nirvana played at the same fucking place, like in the same week or at the same day, right? Yeah. Whereas over here, you know, you have the same thing where other founders are so close together that you can talk, throw ideas off of each other, and just share experiences, right? Where it's just, you know, somebody else has an idea for a startup, they can just walk down the street, trip over some other founder and be like, hey, dude, how'd you do it? And then they tell them the free lawyer secret, you know, or introduce them to a couple angels or whatever. So it's just kind of over time, it's just, you know, the infrastructure has been built here and it's between, you know, some of like the super professional, whether it's legals, or the VCs are here, or just other people to talk to. And like starting a company is a pain in the ass, and having people that have been through it, you know, it's just an attractive proposition to be in a place where other people know what you're talking about and how you feel.
We talk about lawyers and stuff. What do you think what was for you the biggest hurdle you have to take, or you took over your years as a founder?
Yeah, the biggest hurdle, I mean, I was kind of lucky in the sense that when I left Dig to start doing this, over the course of like the previous 10, 11, 12 years of my career, when I first, you know, moved here after college and started working, is just a lot of the people I worked with previously either got rich or were rich to begin with. So it was pretty easy to get like an initial couple $100,000, like $200,000 to kind of, you know, be able to quit my job and, you know, hire somebody else and sit in my living room and just kind of start throwing ideas out there. So I was lucky in that sense where I didn't have to meet the people that gave us our initial $200,000. I already knew them and, you know, I'd worked with them or for them in the past, and that was kind of nice and easy. That was there. Again, like the experience, like just working in startups exclusively for so long, you know, I met a lot of people. So when we got a Series A and we had actual money, to hire people. I already kind of knew them. I already knew, you know, like I worked with Ryan at blip.fm, so I knew, hey, I'll work with Ryan again. Awesome. You want a job? Sure. You know, it was nice and easy. Front end guy Jamie, worked with him at Dig. Addison worked with him at Dig, and Jamie and Addison have been best friends since they're 12. So it was like, sweet, come on down. You know, we'll pay you. We'll play video games, and we'll make a product. And maybe like the only bit of advice I could give to another founder that's really good as opposed to just made up bullshit is that being a single founder is hard. Like if there's two of you, it would be better. Like that's that's just not what happened to me. It was just I was out there and I was like, I have this idea or some neighborhood of an idea, and people gave me the chance to go pursue that and turn it into what it is now. But it's hard being a single founder because it's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like the VCs are the rock and the employees are the hard place, right? So the employees, like, you know, you got to make sure they're happy, you know, whatever and all that stuff. But as just like, you know, frustrating things happen at work or, you know, whatever, you can't bitch to your VCs because they're like, oh, he doesn't have shit under control. You can't bitch to your employees because then they'll be like, oh, our boss doesn't have his shit together, right? Yeah. So you're kind of in this little rock and a hard place thing, which is where the Bay Area thing kicks in. And like, there's other founders out there that I can go meet up with at drinks, and we just kind of like just bitch about work because, you know, you can't bitch up and you can't bitch down, right? So you bitch to your coworkers, and technically I don't have a peer at the company. So that's the biggest challenge, is kind of doing that. Everything else I've been lucky enough where the guys on my team are rad. I don't have to worry about crap where, you know, if I'm not there for a while, any of the guys can deal with stuff. I mean, I'm the only one that signs the checks, but besides that, like, there's a decision to be made, I'm not there, or I'm busy, whatever, or somebody needs to handle a press call, like, everybody's cool, everybody's on the same page, and we trust each other, so that works out.
Cool. One last question I have is, like, you see any trends, you see any companies or startups where you think, like, they will become big, I think. Like, I like them. They're cool. Besides,
well, yeah. I saw this app where you post like 140 characters of stuff, and like they might get big someday. And this kid out of Harvard, honestly, it's hard to say. Honestly, not just because I mean somebody that's like angel investing like Kevin Rose might be better because he sees so much more shit. Okay. By the time I see something, it's already like done something. It's, you know, I have friends that are doing startups, but most of them are kind of further along, like, you know, like like Boundary, Cliff's gig, like they're doing like actual technology. They're probably one of my only friends that have like a technology company. Well, and Blacko, those guys are doing a search engine. But they're not secrets, right? Like I don't know anything that's a secret right now that's kind of doing good. I mean, there's apps I think are awesome. Some of them I've used, you know, before. You know, let me look at my phone. Let me see. Yeah. Stuff I use the most.
iPhone 5.
iPhone 5, yeah. No, you have to. What's going on here? So I like Q. Q's like a new iPhone app I've been using. They're not super new, but they've been around for a bit, and I've started to use it. It's kind of a fun kind of social spin on a calendar, which I dig. Maybe that there's like a little bit of kinship there. We have the social spin on a to-do list, so there's that. That Q is cool as far as like the unheard of thing. Everyone's heard of Pinterest and Reddit and all that crap, but they're good. The Blacko guys are doing something called Roxy, which is pretty cool. Yeah. It's got more potential than current awesomeness, you know. But I think that what they've got is there's a seed of something that could probably be pretty rad. But that's I don't know anything secret that I could kind of put out there, but it's just like all the crap you use, I use. You know, there's you know, nothing magical going on. Ask me about horror movies, I'll tell you a million things though.
What's your favorite horror movie?
Scream.
Scream, is it?
It's the best. Yeah, it's the best movie ever made. Like Citizen Kane sucks. Like it's the best. Huh, buddy?
Yeah.
But yeah, someone like Kevin or somebody that sees a lot of early stage deals, because there's probably like a million people that are just like two buddies in like a crappy little office or like a friend's a corner doing stuff. Circa's coming out soon. I've been on their beta team. That's gonna be pretty cool. Okay. I'm interested in seeing what their how they grow. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, I think that's okay now. Yeah. We had a lot of jets and dogs, but it was nice to have you here.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
For having me here.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
see you next time.